Oh, we've got sunlight for the moment. I put the light on anyway, just in case.
Okay.
What's the question though? Is the question, why do people prefer natural perfumes, or why do people prefer to think that their perfumes contain naturals, or as they're called now, natural complex substances, NCSs? Or is it, why do people want to make perfumes with naturals, when actually, if you want to make something smell like a perfume, synthetics are good? Is it that people think naturals are safer or better for the environment? Or is it that they just want to bung natural on the marketing and fool people into thinking that's somehow better? I think people just think natural is better, but don't necessarily go into why or how, or even if that is completely false.
What does it mean?
Exactly. How natural is natural? And what does it have to be in order to be able to say natural on the packaging anyway? So I remember the orange this time, because if you're starting with orange essential oil, you just squeeze it out of the peel, and that's where orange essential oil comes from. So if I were to, have you ever done the thing with a candle? You take it and you squash the peel. If I go like,
oh yeah,
that, it squeezes out. And some people can't do that because their skin immediately goes red because they're allergic to citral and all those lovely chemicals which are in natural essential oils, because everything's made of chemicals. But you squeeze it into a candle flame and you get lovely sparkly lights, and your parents get upset. Or maybe just mine. Repair the orange. Nobody knew. So that's, yeah, you squeeze orange essential oil basically out of the peel, and it's a byproduct of orange juice a lot of the time, so it's really useful. They're going to get grown and drunk anyway, so you might as well squeeze the peel and use it. So that's a good thing. And also it's not very expensive because it's a byproduct of the orange juice industry, so you get natural, not expensive, not completely safe though. Lots of allergens in citrus fruits, because the orange tree grows a combination of oxygen, hydrogen and carbon chemicals to protect itself from attack, so that the pips in here are more likely to survive and grow the next generation of an orange tree. So essential oils are produced by plants in order to protect themselves from attack. And so if you think about it like that, you're using 100% strength. These are they go through it. I mean, it's not just squeezed straight out in a bottle. It goes through purification and analysis in a nice chemistry works. In a factory, it's still processed. But then you get 100% pure, lovely, natural insect repellent, which is not something people often think about when they just go, oh, is it natural? Yes, and it's scary. So that's something which is like nice and pure, inexpensive natural. Because that's another thing. People think if it says natural on it, that they're going to be able to charge double. People come to it's the purification thing. So it's natural and it's pure, so you've got to pay more for it. And when in actual fact, the synthetics are quite often more pure.
Is citronellol?
Yeah.
Is what's that in relation to citronella?
Oh, similar, but the citronella is a plant, and it's, well, that's the thing. It's got things like lemongrass, and which is long and pointy. It has the same smell as lemons because they have the same chemicals in them. By almost complete coincidence, isn't nature wonderful? It makes lemongrass and lemons, which are completely different shape and size and thing, smell the same. Although Yes, like citronella candles, exactly.
Well, that's what made me think of it.
Keep insects away.
Yeah.
Is it an essential oil? I don't know. Damn. I'm going to have to look that up.
You have a lot of things in your head. You can't
I
expect to
have a
have
lot.
everything
I
in
can't
it.
know everything, can I? I know we don't. Yeah, I don't use it in. There's a whole citrus fruit department here in this book. This is a really good book, actually. I was going to get some things out of it sooner or later. Citronella oil, see Cymbopogon oils. In that case, I shall immediately see Cymbopogon oils, but I'm just making my way through all the citruses. Okay, produced from several aromatic grasses that belong to the genus Cymbopogon Spreng Poaceae, and one of them is okay from the steam distillation of fresh or partly dried leaves and stems of the grass species Cymbopogon nardus. And then you get Java citronella oil. Okay, so it is an essential oil, but it's actually related to lemongrass. It's not a citrus fruit, it's a grass. Thank you for asking. I know that now. That's why it's lovely to have books. Talking of which, I've got some books today. So I'd like to talk about vanilla and vanillin. And the thing that happened when there was a bit of a mad panic about vanilla ice cream not containing natural vanilla. And what happened when this was discovered, and some companies which consider themselves to be more natural and ethical started racing to find some natural vanilla to put in their ice creams. And that was the point at which the price of vanilla absolute went up from €3,000 a kilo to €30,000 a kilo. I called a supplier and she said, can I do my best French? There is an international crisis in vanilla. And yes, there was. And that was driven by this little whim that somebody suddenly thought, oh, vanillin, which we've been using since the 1880s in ice cream, isn't good enough. We're going to have to put natural vanilla in because our customers demand it. But the customers, they just didn't know any better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with synthetic vanillin. Just nothing. And this one is actually, this is technically called nature derived because it's made from trees. It's not made from the vanilla orchid. It's made from trees. But it is technically natural if that's all you want, is to bung it on the packaging and push it out the door to your customers. But it also happens to be the most environmentally sound, sustainable production of vanillin. And I really wasn't expecting this, but it comes in really cute tins, which I shouldn't be affected by. I shouldn't, but you know, I do love a tin. I wish I didn't, but I've got this great book, which is called Natural, and it's by Alan Levinovitz, and I've heard him talk, and he is as objective as he can possibly be about natural versus basically science, and the desire for people to somehow return to a natural state, and the obstacles they find on the way, like people wanting natural childbirth and then suddenly discovering themselves that 20% of the tribe that they were trying to emulate actually die giving birth. So maybe it wasn't such a good idea after all, that, you know, let's do the research. But he went and explored vanilla, and so I'm going to read a little bit from this book, but this is really cheery. Are you ready? No, sarcasm. Sadly, authentic vanilla beans come with ethical problems of their own, both environmental and humanitarian. Most vanilla beans are grown in Madagascar, the world's 9th poorest country, where average income sits at just under $1,000 per year. So that means there's an awful lot of people earning a lot less than that. Because of inadequate government oversight, vanilla's extraordinarily high value has put it at the centre of numerous horrific practices. So this was after the price went up because of the ice cream panic. A 2016 report by the watchdog group Danwatch does not mince words. You may be buying stolen vanilla cultivated by children. Recalling Edmund Albius, the slave who discovered how to pollinate vanilla, Dan Watch exposes how modern vanilla farm labourers are often children who have no choice but to painstakingly tend crops destined for wealthier lands. Experts believe these children make up a staggering 32% of the workforce in Madagascar's orchid fields, which means the real vanilla in your Haagen-Dazs may have been handled by someone like Zidulien, a shy 9-year-old in a ragged soccer jersey photographed by Dan Watch working on a farm in the Sava region of northeastern Madagascar. The sourcing of vanilla is so complicated and so unregulated that even conscientious companies have difficulty knowing where their vanilla comes from, and most are not conscientious. When Van Noort, who's a scientist involved in growing vanilla in the Netherlands, when he told me that people cover their eyes when it comes to the source of their food, this is what he meant. So I have some natural vanilla oleoresin here from before the crisis, because since then I haven't been able to afford any until just recently. And so I've mostly been using vanillin and ethyl vanillin. Ethyl vanillin doesn't exist in nature, but it's about 3 or 4 times stronger than vanillin, and it's extra creamier. That's the stuff that's in Shalimar, by the way. That's the stuff that make the original all-time marvellous amber vanilla fragrance so marvellous. I mean, not the original, but the marvellous one. It's not made with natural vanilla. There isn't enough in the world. But you wouldn't know that. Not if you spoke to salespeople, because that's another thing. Onto which. But there's more. As if child labour weren't enough, vanilla bean production is plagued by money launderers and rampant deforestation, all of which occurs as the government of Madagascar turns a blind eye. Reporting for The Guardian in 2018, Jonathan Watts documented how traders in illegal rosewood, a market worth hundreds of millions in Madagascar alone, invested in vanilla to launder the money they'd made. As prices shot up to nearly £10 the previous amount, as I discovered, the crops became irresistible to thieves who would raid farmers' property and steal the beans. Since police were bought and paid for, farmers took justice into their own hands and, quote, hacked and stabbed the thieves to death with machetes and harpoons, according to one eyewitness. I think it's good, he said. We have our own guard now. Meanwhile, chainsaws are buzzing in Masawala National Park, a sanctuary for endangered lemurs, as the locals spend an influence of big vanilla money on new homes, cutting down lumber trees at night to avoid satellite detection. And who can blame them? Their homes are likely to be far smaller than the ones occupied by those of us who can afford their crops. So, yeah, do we want natural vanilla just because it's natural and we're putting our little natural blinkers on and thinking, oh yeah, but it's not natural, so it must be better? Do we want that, or do we want vanillin? Do we want to be responsible for child labour and deforestation? And, well, no, we don't really.
No.
Who was responsible for that? But, you know, it's blinkered. It's, oh, I'm going to have the natural because natural must be better. Like, no. But people don't want to do the digging to find out what the alternatives are. So there's that. They're just not always better for the environment. You'd think because something's grown and it's a plant and it's producing oxygen, it must be better. But
so's the vanillin. Originally, if it's from a tree.
It came from a tree. True, it came from a tree.
So what does so synthetic just means that it's been through a certain amount of processes.
Yeah, they all go through a certain amount of processes. I mean, the naturals even go through a lot of processing. It's how far removed from a live plant is it?
Mm-hmm.
So this one is called nature derived. There are other things which are called nature equivalent, which is that there's a molecule which exists in nature and can also be synthesized.
Mm-hmm. And
so if somebody says, oh yeah, this is full of natural equivalents, and goes, oh yeah, lovely. You might buy linalool, which you can extract from rosewood, but you wouldn't want to because the rosewood's coming from Madagascar, where it's, rosewood importing was banned for a while by the EU because they actually looked into it and stopped it. But it's still used around the world in lots of other places. But linalool smells a lot like rosewood. And whole wood, you can extract it from whole wood if you like, that's less endangered. Linalool is in masses of different naturals, because all naturals are made of hundreds of chemicals. I did tell somebody once that rose is made of hundreds of chemicals, and she just sat at the end of the table going, and I said, what's the matter? And she said, I thought rose was made of roses. It's like, well, it is, but how do you think they actually start from nothing and get out of the ground? I don't know.
Yeah, it's so complicated, isn't it, to be a rose?
Yeah, it is so complicated.
But that's an interesting thing, because roses, natural roses, heavily restricted in fragrance. Am I right?
You are right. It is restricted because of. In fact, did I bring the rose? I brought the rose. Yeah. This is my Rose Absolute. People write with a dent because somebody dropped it on the way. But this is Rose Absolute from Turkey. Contains citronellol, geraniol, phenylethyl alcohol, methyl eugenol, linalool, nerol, phenylethyl acetate, citral, limonene, myrcene, beta caryophyllene. Caryophyllene. I read it, I never read it out. Yes, caryophyllene.
All of which are chemicals.
Oh, well, yes, and all produced by the rose. They say Rose Absolute, 100% pure and natural from Turkey. Now, I do know a Turkish rose story because when I was working for Lush, and Lush went out to make a film about their rose that they were using, and they got to the field in Turkey, and the rose farmer said, while they were filming, he said, I'll beat them for you. I'll beat the workers to show you how. And then Lush is going, no, don't beat the workers. Yes. I mean, rose is not necessarily collected ethically. And you get areas which were previous, like virgin territory, which are being dug up to plant roses because roses are very high revenue, as well as being restricted because of all these allergens in them. In fact, this is, we can talk about hazard signs, which we will, but this has got two. And if I were just to show you this and say, what terrible chemicals do you think these are? People would, I mean, honestly, if they read the safety data sheet for Rose Absolute, people would scream.
You see, but in marketing, 100% natural rose is a really big marketing tool.
Of course it is, and I've got my masters in marketing and corporate strategy. I choose to use it for good, not evil, as I regularly say. But if you were just thinking about how can we push out our message to the customers so that they're reassured that it's lovely, they wouldn't tell any of these stories.
No.
And one ace thing about Lush is they actually went to the source and saw where things really come from and changed things. Mm-hmm. But it's, well, here I can go. I'll get back to the point eventually.
Let's go through
Should we just
symbols.
That one? So this is the symbol for corrosive. These are shipping and handling things. This is for 100% strength Rose Absolute. It is natural, right? 100% pure natural. But is it really natural for 1 million roses to leap out of a field and into a distillation plant and turn into 1000% strength liquid? The smell of rose is a gas. And what we have here is a liquid that smells of roses. And it's corrosive. So it's got the sign on for, test tube pouring on hands, fizzy with acid. Test tube pouring on surfaces, fizzy nastily. That's the international sign for put your gloves on if you're going to be handling this. And that is the general hazard sign, which means hazardous to health or hazardous to the ozone layer. This one is health because of all those chemicals, natural chemicals in there, which are
allergens.
Allergens, thank you. Skin sensitizers, technically. So, I mean, I have had people say, oh my God, they put those things in the rose. Like, no, the rose puts those things in the rose. This is what natural is all about. And we have to be extremely careful with these things when we're making perfume. And that's why we have regulations, and people have actually measured what's in them and how much we can use safely, and tell us you're restricted to this, 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 and this. Don't go over the top, otherwise you risk damaging people's skin. So, yes.
There's one here that's covered in hazard
so,
symbols.
Arthur, you know me. Do you think this is natural or synthetic?
Natural.
Of course.
Because it's got 5 heavy-duty hazard symbols
and
on.
of course there are synthetics that have these as well. But, okay, it's got 4. That one says no symbol. That is the space that they leave for corrosive. So, we know this one. This is hazard to health or the ozone layer. This is serious hazard to health. So the exploding chest, alien about to pop out thing, that sign means don't swallow it and don't get it into your lungs. That's like not out of a perfume, that's one, but don't take this stuff and snort it, right? I mean, who would? But don't. That's what it means. Don't swallow it and don't snort it. Then we have the hazardous to the environment with the dead fish, dead tree sign, which is, this is terrifying. This is cardamom, by the way. This is cardamom, lovely cardamom essential oil. The reason cardamom plants fill their seeds with so much hazardous stuff is to stop birds eating them and insects attacking them and people messing with them, because cardamom seeds are the next generation cardamom plant. So this is their defense against us doing stuff like this with it and putting it on our skin, turning it into coffee. Also flammable. And it'll have the flash point on here, which is 59 degrees centigrade. So that means that if it got to 59 degrees centigrade, we'll all be dead. But if you happen to have it, accidentally next to the oven, it would spontaneously, if you waved a flame over it, it would set on fire at 59. So all of these things have to be tested before we can use them. And it's even got my address on it, because this can't just go out to anyone. So it's not corrosive. Hi. So yes, but what this means is do not pour it in your fish tank. Okay? It's a handling instruction. It's what's the risk really. It's that's what we're looking at. It's not banned. It's just careful. And if we were going to get it out and pour it, we'd put our gloves on. So, and that's natural. I've got a whole load of them. Same set of signs here on noix de muscade. I never remember that. Nutmeg. That's it. So this is essential oil, noix de muscade, HE, really essential. The same 4, just smaller. And we have these in the drawers at work, just for if we're shipping out some concentrate to people. Likewise, it's a seed, so it's next generation, so it's going to have defensive stuff against a natural defense against attack.
It's also an enormous hallucinogen.
It is. Yeah, we should put it in all the fragrances. Natural hallucinogen. Hallucinogen.
I read in a book somewhere that I think you'd have to eat about 5 kilograms of it.
Yeah, probably best not. Black pepper is as well, apparently.
Oh yes, I've heard that as well.
Yeah. Oh, talking of which, let's look at raspberry ketone. This is not the yogurt, it's the raspberry ketone from Sigma Aldrich. I just like recycling packaging, and I have a big thing of this downstairs. It's too heavy to bring up. So, but this raspberry ketone comes as a fluffy powder which smells of raspberries. So I'm just going to waft the raspberryness in your direction. You can probably smell the lid. Smelling off lids is good. So the raspberry ketone smells of raspberries. This is synthesized, but you can get natural. You can get it made from raspberries if you really want to. If somebody insists, it's probably going to go into bags of sugar-packed sweeties that says on them all natural flavours. Like, why? So this is where you talk about the nature equivalent. This one, I looked at the prices before we started talking, and if you want to get it made in a factory, and I can tell you how it's made, it's just that I don't actually understand it, but this lovely book, Common Fragrance and Flavour Materials by Horst Surburg and Johannes Pantin, they tell you how, if you were a chemist with your own lab, how you can actually make it, which we don't do, we buy it. But it smells of raspberries, and a lot of raspberry fragrances are made with this. And if you want to buy the version made from raspberries, which is the natural version, you can get it for £405 a kilo, which is not too bad. It's about 10 times more than orange would cost us. But if you want to buy this one, it's £195 for 5 kilos. So we're basically talking a difference of 10. You can get 5 kilos for £200. You can get 1 kilo for 400 of the natural. Now, so if you really insist, absolutely insist on putting natural on the packet, that's my symbol for sticking natural on the packet, because that's just sales. That's just trying to convince people it's somehow better because it says natural. You can pay more for it. But that means using up actual raspberries. And is that better for the environment? Like, no. Probably better off getting it from a nice clean factory somewhere than taking all those raspberries we could actually be eating and turning them into powder. You know, there's more to it. What are we going to tell the customers side of things, and there's also the actual responsibility of investigating where it's from and why and what's really better, what's really sustainable.
Yeah, it's not to say. I think when you say would you rather have it from actual raspberries or from a nice clean factory somewhere, some people would go, oh, but it's a factory, industry's bad. But the raspberries have also been, even the natural has been produced in a factory somewhere.
Yeah.
The industry is always there. Getting natural ingredients doesn't mean that you're not buying into chemical industries, essentially, and if that's what you're scared of, it still comes from there.
You know, the raspberries don't just go, oh, I'm going to spontaneously decrystallize and empty myself into a vat. So they've got to go through the factory.
Yeah.
Randall wants us, Nick. What do you need?
It's 3 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock. Oh yeah.
We're back.
So, yeah. Oh yeah, we need to talk about natural isolates. Of course, what's that then? So, yeah, I was talking about linalool before I got distracted, wasn't I? So, linalool, you can buy synthetic linalool, and it smells like rosewood. Or you can extract linalool from other natural materials. So, for example, if you wanted to buy a load of whole wood essential oil, you can distill it so that you take certain chemicals out at different times, they evaporate at different temperatures, so you can isolate one by one the different molecules that are in there. So linalool as a natural isolate, you can use that and you can call it natural, but it's been collected from a plant. It's been turned into an essential oil, and that is it's a manufacturing process, and then it's been further processed to take out the individual molecule. But technically you're allowed to say that that's natural.
But it's on a molecular level, it's the exact same thing.
Exact same thing. And I was chatting to Ruth Mastenbrook once, master perfumer, and she's a chemist. She got her chemistry degree at Oxford and then went into perfumery, and we said something about natural isolates, would she ever use? And she said, you mean natural equivalent? And I said, well, no, people actually say. She said, why would they do that? Because coming from the perfumery side of things, perfume perfumers who've worked in the industry for forever just don't understand why anybody would just want to use naturals when they can pay 1/10 the amount for the equivalent that's been made in a lab in nice clean circumstances and doesn't involve chopping down trees. Because the thing, they come from trees, lovely, but it does involve cutting bits off them or cutting them down completely. So yeah, they are the same. They're not imbued by some other magic. But there's also the whole chemophobia thing. That there's a lovely man who used to run a shop I supplied, and we were talking about, he said there's no chemicals in the stuff he was buying. And I said, but we're all chemicals. Oxygen's chemical, water's a chemical, everything that makes up everything on the planet is a chemical. And he said, oh, I don't mind the molecules that perfumers use, I just don't like chemicals. And part of the trouble is that if somebody says something like that to a chemist and some technical perfumery people, they'll just turn around and go, how can you be so stupid? Molecules and chemicals are exactly the same thing, you're an idiot. But for me, that's like a little chink opening into a mind I didn't understand, which was somebody who didn't remember any science that they'd ever learnt, or perhaps had never even learnt any. And they think that chemicals are bad and horrible, and that molecules are okay because they're lovely pure things that make a nice smell. And so the fact that people are talking about using molecules in perfumery is slightly opening the doors to understanding a bit. But still, he had this strong belief, having worked in retail for a long time, that just telling people things are 100% natural is the way to sell stuff more easily. And that's part of the problem. People are trained in perfumery sales in this country just to say to people, oh, it's 100% natural. And for the customer to understand in that that's better and lovely and not question. It's like a little code, it's a little signal. So you get people saying, oh, my perfumes are all completely natural, I don't use any chemicals. Well, we're all made of chemicals. One quote I got, oh, you know what I mean, I don't use any chemicals. But actually, they do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's H2O?
Well, yeah. But you tell the truth and people run away some of the time.
Yeah.
My mate used to work, Albertino, worked for Frederick Mao, told me about somebody who came up and said, they're completely natural, aren't they? And they sort of expect in shops everyone to go, oh, yes. And that's it. And Albertino said, no, we use a combination of natural and synthetics to make the best possible aromas. And with horror, she said, well, in that case, I'm going to buy my usual Chanel, under the impression that Chanel's all made with flowers. Even though Chanel No. 5 is famous for using aldehydes C8, C9, C10, C11, which are synthetic. So, as long as this fakery exists and customers don't want to know. I mean, the worst I got was Stylist Live, and someone came up and said, are they completely natural? Because people somehow think that if you're a tiny company, you're going to use 100% naturals. And I said, no, actually, because that can be a bit dangerous, And she just went, I don't want it, I don't want any, it's evil. And I said, oh, well, hang on a moment. And I said, I'm not listening to you. And, that it can be a bit extreme. And that's not based on knowledge. Mm-hmm. So, what else shall we look at? So we've got the 100% naturals, fine. But you've got to be careful with them. You can have natural isolates, which are individual molecules extracted from naturals, so that people who want to use 100% naturals but want to get a decent smell can say, yes, I have, yes, my creation is 100% natural, even though they're still single molecules. And then you get nature equivalent, which is where, like this one, I've got nature equivalent raspberry ketone, but it's not made from raspberries. And then you can go bang straight into the lovely synthetics. I've got natural maltol here as well, which is made from malt. It smells like Maltesers, basically. Another white powder. But technically, if I wanted to put this into a fragrance, I would say it's natural. And this one...
It's over with.
Oh yeah, sorry. Bad Sarah.
Yeah.
So I think this only comes as natural. But because you're going to, it's all right. Doesn't have a do not inhale on it. Yeah, that the source is not far away. I think it's from barley, malted barley. There you go. But it's within the industry, the actual perfume industry, not like the indie artisan side of it. Nobody would want to use 100% natural unless they're told they have to. It's not the way to get the best smelling fragrances. And on that note, I've got another lovely 100% natural here that's got the health hazard, serious health hazard, hazards to the environment, and it's flammable. Lovely mandarin oil, green mandarin oil from Brazil. If anybody started this thinking that naturals are safer, I really hope I've scotched that. This is my perfumery and essential oil record yearbook from 1939, and it's from a company called W.J. Bush and Company, and they, in between all the diary pages, they've got advertisements printed on blotting paper. I love them. Ye oldest essence distillers, it says. So they've got vanillin made from clove advertised in that, but there's a whole series of different things. The coumarin, terpineol, that they manufacture, the page of phenyl ether alcohol, phenyl acetaldehyde, dimethyl acetal, all made in Ashgrove, Hackney, where the bus depot is now. I looked it up. Heliotropin of the finest quality. Somewhere here I have where they get into some of their naturals. Okay, manufacture of soap compounds for high-class toilet soaps. Manufacture of synthetic perfumes of highest purity. And at this time, you get advertisements to the public for things that were synthetic. And it was, ooh, lovely, that's going to be pure. They also, what have they got?
It suddenly occurred to me how no one's really complaining about synthetic clothing.
No, I mean, a bit. People, you get your cotton and your silk and everything, but then you look closely at cotton production and you realise what damage that does to the environment as well.
Yeah, but and also, what are the yoga pants made out of? They're completely synthetic.
Well, people are actually complaining about those, Arthur. Good. They really are. The microplastics in the stretchy things and stuff like that. Yeah, they are. Because once you go down this rabbit hole,
it's a deep rabbit hole.
I know you're in there. You're just in a little bit different bit of the burrow. Yeah. Okay, so cosmetic perfume bases. Yeah. High class perfumery, tinctures of ambergris, castoreum, civet, labdanum, musk, tonkin, gum opopanax, and gum olibanum. So 4 of those are animal ingredients. Now, they're natural. Is that good? No. And musk now is banned. Natural musk is banned in perfumery. So some people still use it to claim exclusivity and expense. I can't see a justification myself.
Is it because you have to poke some animals to get it?
You have to kill them.
Right.
This one, yeah, to get musk out. No, I mean, it's so not vegan. Okay. So oil of rose, otto of rose, virgin speciality. Now so they're quite happily just going, iron alpha, iron beta, iron 100%. They're getting natural compounds, synthetics, isolates, flavouring essences for all kinds of confectionery and mineral wafers, etc. I don't even know what one is. But point is that was the industry yearbook. And this company is happily going, well, this one's synthetic, this one's natural. And now we've got this whole almost nature worship thing that's gone a little bit too far. I think just unquestioningly assuming that natural is going to be pure and better and give you a more wonderful life without asking the naughty, the difficult questions.
Yeah.
So we'll go on then. Let's have a look at some of these, because you probably guessed, because I have an agenda today, and my agenda today is to prove that some things in the synthetic world are totally safe.
So just to clarify, those black squares that means that there's no that is
that means
void of anything.
They are void of the dangerous things.
Mm-hmm.
So this one carries Mal Super, which is an extra high cis version of Hedione. So it doesn't smell of much. It does marvelous things and makes your perfume last longer and spread further. And this is kind of the single thing. If you wanted a perfume to smell more natural than natural, like you'd actually just picked it, as opposed to you'd picked it, it had been processed and then turned into a liquid and come out the other end. You add some of this to it, and the marvelous thing about this is it makes natural smell more natural. And I have converted quite a few people they've started making perfume, reading things like, a hint of juicy toffee apple, thinking that there's actual toffee and actually apple in a perfume, and tried to make something, reading off the notes list and thinking, well, why does it smell like perfume? Why does it smell like sludge? So I just kind of tell them they need a little bit of Hedione in it, and it gives it clarity and transparency, and it feels like you're in a garden again, as opposed to face down in the compost heap.
You see, that's another probably quite quick point to cover, which is that I suppose another thing with the natural thing is people confuse notes lists with ingredients lists.
And that, I think, Arthur, might be our next film.
Great.
But yeah, so, I mean, the charisma... So, this has still got the thing on, so... Anyway, it's got no hazard things, but if you don't smell anything at all, don't worry. I mean, you might. I'm not good at smelling Hedione. I get basic...
No, I don't get much. I don't get much, but there's a lot of smell in the air in this building, so...
This is true. Not so much upstairs. But this, you add one of these things to your 100% natural fragrance, and... Also, it's not expensive. It used to be like thousands a kilo when it first used in Eau Sauvage, Hedione, and it was very, very, very expensive. And now it isn't. Just because something doesn't cost much, we've talked about this, doesn't mean it's not great. It's great. It's just produced in big quantities, so it's less expensive these days. Mm-hmm. This is a musk, and there are lots of complaints about people assuming that musks must be bad for the environment. Well, it's not as bad as carving the glands out the backside of an actual animal. Mm. Plus this one is one of those. There are some which are controlled because you just need tiny amounts of them. But perfumery only needs tiny amounts of them. If we're going to worry about the environment, we need to sort out I can't get the lid off. Get the lid off. Thank you. We need to sort out what goes into washing powder. That all goes straight into the sea. You're going to spray a little bit of this stuff in the air with perfume. It's not a thing. But this one, anyway. Oh, you can smell that again now and then. Mm. So this is Velvione. Mm. And, yeah. It's an expensive mask, but, see... People will come up, somebody will discover a safety data sheet. The safety data sheet is like a 16-page form telling you how to handle these things, how to ship them correctly, what to do with them if there's an emergency, if they get spilled or something. And you read a safety data sheet, and you read the safety data sheet for, I don't know, what have I got that's got a problem? Oh, this one. Cashmere and Velvet. It's got the dead fish, dead tree sign on it, and if you read through all, always wear gloves, wear protective clothing, and you'd be likely to think, oh my goodness, this is terrible, this is so scary. But if somebody hands you that safety data sheet and says, look at this, you should be scared, ask them for a safety data sheet as well for cardamom, because that's twice as scary. And people don't do that. People with an agenda, the agenda is like natural is better, read this scary thing. Don't ever say, oh, we'll read the scary thing for the naturals as well, let's be fair and balanced, shall we? Because they don't. Because, so, what's my agenda? Be more I think you put the lid back on this
I might have been at them.
Yeah. Because I only put them on so I can get them off again.
It's just the best thing in the world.
Yeah. So, this is cashmere and velvet, that will be on a notes list as cashmere. Is it made out of goat fur? No. It's synthetic.
It's made out of magic, I think.
It's made out of magic. It is. It smells like... I think it smells like if you knitted a woolly jumper out of wood. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
If you actually make a yarn out of soft ambery woods and then make that softness.
And then gave it to a secret agent to wear.
Why?
I don't know, it just feels really sort of cool.
Well, if I
and
find
edgy.
a secret agent, I might, but you can't find them because they're secret.
Yeah, well, you will know because they're wearing cashmere and velvet.
It's so easy to get sidetracked, is it? I've got this new thing, which is bicyclo... It's round the corner. It's bicyclononolactone. And I got this sample in because this is one of the new materials which is produced really, really sustainably. But it's still got the... that sign, the corrosive sign. I can remember how to speak English. It's got corrosive sign. So things are not perfect, but it's a lovely new sustainable aromachemical, which I'll probably use, but I'll use it with my gloves on. Notes, and okay, let's talk about sales a little bit. This code, oh yes, it's completely natural. And people imagine that a notes list is it's a list of things that people put in a perfume to make it. I don't know how they square that with the allergens list. Because in the ingredients list, alcohol denatured, parfum, and then that's the secret recipe. The parfum is secret recipe. So there's all kinds of bad stuff assumed about parfum must be the poison that they're not telling you about. No, parfum is everything, natural synthetics that we put in that we just don't want to tell everybody about because they'd copy it. And, clones of the world, dupes, all of that stuff. We want to try and diminish that. So we don't publish the recipe. So instead, what you say is which skin sensitizers are in there. But then I love Detail. I like the company, and they're French, and they're quite poetic. So, yes. But you see, here it is. It's a perfume company, and they actually say all our beauty care products are made up of natural elements without the addition of perfume. Why would they even say that? I mean, what's the benefit of not adding perfume? Besides which, essential oils are perfume, technically. But I mean, that doesn't do good for the industry to like, oh, skincare doesn't have perfume. That would make you think that perfume in skincare is bad. It's not bad. It's just not there. Right, so it's a bouquet decorated, conceived as a powerful and spicy cocktail starting with the green of blackcurrant buds. Natural. Restricted, but natural. Tangerine, probably natural. Ivy leaves. No, nobody makes a natural fragrance out of ivy leaves. The heart is a floral harmony composed of carnations, jasmine and heliotrope. Yes, there is some made from carnation, but it's probably eugenol, which smells the same. Jasmine, yes, could well be natural. Heliotrope, no, because there is no natural heliotrope fragrance. It's heliotropin, which is also known as piperonal, which is also used in the manufacture of crystal meth. So I don't have any because I don't make crystal meth, but also you have to pay about £3,000 for a license to be able to use it in the UK. But heliotropin, you'd think maybe it was natural heliotrope. No. Warm base notes of tonka beans and vanilla interweaves with the mysterious accents of the patchouli. Yeah, patchouli will be natural. Although there's another new version of patchouli called clearwood, which is a molecular distillation, which it's the clean parts of patchouli with all the grubby bits removed, as previously discussed. Warm base notes of tonka beans and vanilla, very possibly vanillin or ethyl vanillin and coumarin. They might have used some of the natural, they probably used the synthetics as well, because those are particularly expensive. But yeah, nobody really gets around to saying, and some of these are natural and some of these are not, because they think they're going to scare away the customers. And as long as people are going to be scared by thinking something is not completely natural, then marketing departments are going to continue to lie their little heads off. We're just like, is it going to do the job? Is it going to smell great? Where does it come from? And then the rest of the world's out there just going, no, it's 100% natural. Anyway.
What's this?
This.
I want to smell more.
Okay. So this is the bulb unit. You can smell the lids, that's fine.
Mmm.
This is my current favourite musk.
Yeah.
You know,
it's my current favourite musk too.
I mean,
it's lovely that.
It's expensive, but it's. Ooh. I mean, it goes everywhere. It fills all the gaps. Yeah. Now that I've got the Aurelion.
On the whole, I find synthetic smells actually a lot more interesting. I tend to recognise them less.
Yeah.
They feel more unique.
Now you can smell this, obviously, because it's not going to go in your hands, and you're not going to be inhaling the liquid. So
that it just what.
So that's the wine food.
Yeah, it just smells like booze.
Yeah, what used to be called cognac essential oil now has to be called fusel, because
so it smells like cognac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But cognac, they kicked off. The wine, the cognac producing region said you're not allowed. So, the isobutyl phenyl acetate.
Yes, I know that.
Because it's in centerpiece.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of a honey smell. This is the one where I mixed this with vanillin 1:1 and accidentally got honey nut cornflakes. I was trying to make the chocolate smell, but honey nut cornflakes was fine. I'm gonna smell the actual. Okay, this is the cap still with the.
Oh. Pink elephants. Yeah, that's it's nice. It's alright.
Yeah.
Good. Nutmeg.
Nutmeg. I had to get the nutmeg because one of our clients really likes it in his fragrances. I don't know. Secret reasons. Okay, so this is what this one is. This is fascinating. This one.
Whoa!
Are you fascinated?
Yeah.
It's the cashmere and velvet.
Oh my god!
Synthetic.
That's my favourite ingredient ever.
Well, I'll have to make something with it in.
Oh!
Okay, good.
Wow!
Okay.
That's really woken me up.
Make you have a fragrance with that.
And yes.
What have I put it in?
I'm obsessed.
What have I put it in? I can't remember what I've used it in. I like it.
What's it called?
Cashmere and velvet.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, big time.
So if you see that people have said notes of cashmere, they mean that, because cashmere is actually a goat.
Oh,
so notes of goat. Why not? The carry smells super. That's quite. I'll just throw the lid on the floor. I'll be back. You see, I find this almost unsmellable. I know what it does, but this is something which is like, it's off my scale.
Yeah. I know there's something there, but I can't quite get it.
It's like, it's so huge and so low, it's like a super sub bass that you have to dilute it before it starts to blossom and reach the rest of the world.
I mean, I'm still thinking about the Kashmirian velvet.
Good.
That stuff's amazing.
Yes, it is. It'll be in your dreams. Okay.
That's
Can't see it from here, can you? No. All right.
it's a lemongrass type thing, is it?
What did we talk about earlier? I've not
Oh
got
yeah, it's
my-
cardamom.
it's
Sorry,
cardamom.
yeah, it's cardamom. Yeah.
It's
cardamom.
so much easier to remember if you know what it is.
Yeah, it smells
I've got
exactly like
we should have
green
to-
cardamom.
We need to do another film with my ASMR voice on instead. I've had my teachery voice on today
Well,
because
we'll
it's
get-
I feel very strongly about this.
We'll bring a microphone in.
Have to do one day. We'll talk about the
Mitiata, I
mitiata.
Yeah.
Mitiata.
It smells like peanuts as well. There's a bit of peanut to that. Like I mean like raw peanut.
Yeah.
Not-
Yeah. You're right. No, I can't unsmell it. Yeah.
It's there,
I just-
isn't it?
It reminds me of being in a mud bath in Turkey, which I once was, as you do. Yes, and then oh yeah, the Ambrox. Another powder, another white powder. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Oh, mix that with the cashmere and velvet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
already started.
I knew that would get into trouble. Yeah, the Ambrox and the cashmere and velvet.
I'm obsessed with that stuff.
Okay.
Oh, wow, it's really nice.
You too can smell like Arthur McBain. Yeah. I'm going to have to stand on this to make the lid go back on.
Lovely.
Yeah. Did you smell it? Yeah, smell the raspberry keto.
Yeah.
Yeah, smells of raspberries. Yeah, okay. Smell the vetiver. Yeah, that's about it then.
Right. Oh no, let's whiff this, the natural
yeah,
vanilla.
Of course.
Because I know vanillin very well.
Yep. There is something. There is something extra. I mean,
There is something.
There is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
because
more complicated.
this is sort of 95% that, and then there's 5% stuff going on, and we don't know what it's doing. But is it worth paying 30 grand a kilo for it when it's picked by children? No.